Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really interesting one of you asked for.
Oh, yeah.
Exploring the books in Netflix's You, like all of them, across all 5 seasons, right up to 2025.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of books.
It is, and you provided this amazing list, every single book shown, mentioned, you name it.
Nice. So not just listing them, I assume.
Exactly. Our mission is to figure out why these specific books, why they matter in Joe Goldberg's, let's call it his world.
Right, because it spans quite a bit. New York, L.A., suburbia, London, back to New York.
So let's dive in, unpack this literary side of Joe.
Okay, sounds good. You know, what jumps out right away is how much literature is the show, in a way. Yeah, it's not just like background noise. These books feel really intentional.
Totally agree. It feels like every choice has a purpose. So season 1, New York, straight away, Joe gives back the portrait of a lady.
Henry James.
Right.
And that's not just a random pick, is it?
No way. It immediately brings in that whole theme of obsession, wanting to shape someone else.
Definitely. And Joe probably sees himself as this, sophisticated guide for her.
But he completely misses the point of the book, doesn't he?
Or twists it. James is about her finding herself, her agency. Joe uses it for control. It's kind of creepy.
Super creepy. Then there's Paula Fox's desperate characters. What about that one?
Ah, yeah. That fits Joe's taste, These darker domestic dramas.
It's like he's drawn to that dysfunction, or maybe sees himself in it.
Could be. Those books peel back the layers on seemingly normal lives, expose the rot underneath. Joe's all about facades, right? His own, and seeing through others. Maybe it validates him somehow.
That makes sense. And Franny and Zooey, Salinger, lots of angst there.
Yeah. Identity crisis, disillusionment. It taps into that undercurrent in the show, even when characters aren't saying it out loud.
It's like the books fill in the gaps.
Exactly. And speaking of facades, remember Peach pretending to like the Three Musketeers?
Oh, God, yes. Just to connect with Joe, it really shows that whole social game everyone's playing.
Totally. All performance.
Even Joe's internal thoughts sometimes echo, like Hemingway. The sun also rises. That lost generation vibe.
Yeah, that's a good catch. It adds to his whole alienated outsider thing. He thinks he's this deep observer,
In his own mind, yeah. Like a cynical Hemingway hero, but with more stalking.
Right. Okay, season 2. L.A. Love Quinn's reading Bulgakov. The Master and Margarita.
Okay, that's a heavy hitter. Good versus evil. Deception. What's that tell us about love?
A lot, actually. It's super telling. The book's all about moral gray areas, blurred lines, kind of foreshadows who love really is, doesn't it?
Definitely. Her complexity, her capacity for stuff.
Right. And the deception theme in Bulgakov. Perfect mirror for her secrets.
And Joe's grappling with guilt. You immediately think crime and punishment, right?
Yes, Dostoevsky, yeah.
Yeah.
The classic psychological fallout of doing something terrible.
Which Joe is constantly trying to justify away.
Dostoevsky dives deep into that mental spiral, the guilt, needing to rationalize. Joe does that, but he usually blames everyone else, never really owns it.
Never. And then the super meta moment. The actual You novel by Caroline Kepnes shows up.
Huh. Yeah, that was fun. A little wink to the audience.
Breaks the fourth wall a tiny bit.
Yeah, blurring the lines. Reminds you, this whole thing started as a book itself.
Plus, L.A., everyone's searching for freedom, escape. Kind of like Kerouac's On the Road.
Totally fits the vibe. That whole seeking something more, even if it's maybe an illusion.
But the irony is they're all trapped, right, by their own obsessions.
Exactly. The book's about freedom, but they're anything but free. Highlights how messed up their search is.
And Joe's detachment, that cold way he rationalizes violence, it feels very Kami, the stranger.
Oh, absolutely. That existential coldness. Mersault's apathy isn't quite Joe, but Joe's ability to just compartmentalize and justify, it definitely echoes that emotional distance.
Okay, season 3, Suburbia, Madre Linda, looks perfect, but...
Oh, it's definitely not.
And Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng feels like the perfect book for that setting.
Spot on. Ng just nails that hidden tension under the perfect suburban surface. Like Madre Linda, where Joe and Love try to play house, but their darkness just bubbles up.
It always does. And then there's Sherry Conrad and her self-help Bible, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck.
Right. The contrast is almost funny. All this dark stuff happening, and she's focused on that.
Kind of highlights how superficial some of that can be, maybe.
Or maybe how she's trying to cope. Appear in control when everything's actually nuts.
Could be. Then Donna Tartt's The Secret History. Dark academia, secrets, closed circles.
Yeah, that resonates with how Joe operates, doesn't it? Charming his way into these groups, manipulating them from the inside.
That hidden world, twisted rules.
Exactly. Tart's book has that intense hidden darkness beneath the intellectual surface, just like Joe.
And Gone Girl. Another one about deception, changing identities. You really see the pattern.
Oh, yeah. Gillian Flynn, master of unreliable narrators, messed up relationships. It's practically the theme music for you.
It really is. And Tara Westover's Educated gets mentioned, maybe hinting at love's past.
Yes, suggesting maybe a chaotic, isolated upbringing, something that might explain, well, some of Love's choices.
Adds another layer to her character.
It suggests a really formative past that shaped her, made her who she is.
Okay, Season 4, London. Joe becomes Professor Jonathan Moore. Big reinvention.
And the perfect book for that. Dickens. Great Expectations.
Of course, transformation, new identity. It's Pip's journey, but, evil.
Yeah, exactly. Both trying to climb the social ladder, reinvent themselves. But Pip wants love, acceptance. Joe just wants a new cover story for his stocking. His Great Expectations are all lies.
And referencing Joyce's Ulysses, the irony.
Oh, it's brilliant. This incredibly complex book about human consciousness.
Compared to Joe's pretty shallow attempt at being an intellectual.
Right. Highlights the huge gap between who he pretends to be and who he actually is.
And then maybe the most on-the-nose reference, the talented Mr. Ripley.
Patricia Highsmith.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like Joe's origin story sometimes.
The charm, the identity theft, the sociopath underneath, it's uncanny.
Totally. Ripley is all about that seductive charm, hiding something dangerous, living a borrowed life. It's pure Joe Goldberg.
Makes you wonder if it was a direct influence. And Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray?
Oh, definitely. The respectable outside,
Yeah.
decaying portrait hidden away. That's Joe's life.
That duality, the hidden sins, it's his whole deal.
Absolutely central to his character.
Even just hearing mentions of Macbeth in those posh London circles.
Shakespeare. Ambition, guilt, betrayal.
Yeah, those big themes just follow Joe everywhere, don't they? No matter the setting.
They're timeless human flaws, right? And Joe embodies so many of them.
Okay, final season. Season 5. Back in New York. Things get darker.
Yeah, the reference is American Psycho. Bret Easton Ellis.
Whoa. Okay, that feels fitting. Disturbing, but fitting.
Yeah, it suggests Joe's really spiraling, maybe reaching that Patrick Bateman level of narcissism and violence.
Yeah.
A dark endpoint.
And the situations he gets into feel increasingly absurd, almost like Catch-22.
Heller. Yeah, the bureaucratic nightmare, the inescapable logic loops.
That's Joe, trapped by his own twisted thinking, making things worse for himself constantly.
His own flawed logic creates these impossible situations.
And poor Marianne. Her struggles, that existential dread,
Yeah.
it connects to the bell jar, doesn't it?
Sylvia Plath. Yeah, that adds such a depth to her story. It's not just about her being Joe's victim. It shows her own internal battle.
Her isolation, her pain, it's powerful.
Definitely. And then Aldous Huxley, Brave New World.
Societal control, loss of individuality. How does that fit?
Well, think about Joe's need to control everything, create these perfect, manipulated little worlds for himself and his obsessions. It's a kind of personal dystopia he builds.
At the expense of everyone else's freedom, yeah.
Okay. And finally, Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess.
Choice, violence, free will.
Yeah.
The big questions about Joe.
Exactly. Can he change? Is the violence just who he is?
Yeah.
That book forces you to think about it.
Is reform possible, or is he just fundamentally broken? Heavy stuff.
Super heavy.
And beyond those specific seasons, there are books that just sort of linger in the background, right? Like The Catcher in the Rye.
Salinger again. Yeah, Holden Caulfield's cynicism, hating the phoniness. That feels like Joe's internal monologue sometimes, judging everyone.
Even though he's the biggest phony of all.
Totally. The hypocrisy is huge.
And Lolita. That shadow hangs over the show, doesn't it? Especially early on.
The Bokov. Yeah, that exploration of obsession, power, unreliable narrators. It really informs the show's moral ambiguity, raises uncomfortable questions.
Yeah, definitely uncomfortable. And Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier, that possessiveness.
The ghost of a past love, controlling the present. Echoes how Joe idealizes women, tries to control his current partners, compares them.
Yeah, like they're living in the shadow of whoever he obsessed over before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Creates that same kind of suspense and psychological tension.
So putting it all together, it's crystal clear these aren't just random books on a shelf.
Not at all. They're like a running commentary.
Yeah, on Joe's whole descent. They give us these little windows into his justifications, his his twisted logic.
It's like the books are an ironic soundtrack to his life, highlighting the gap between how he sees himself and the awful reality.
Totally. And they add so much to that creepy atmosphere.
Precisely. Even if you don't know every single book, you get this overall feeling of like intellectualized darkness. He uses literary ideas, but twists them completely.
Weaponizes them almost.
Yeah, weaponizes them to excuse what he does.
And it's amazing how often a book pops up right before things go south, isn't it? Like foreshadowing.
Hints about his inner turmoil, where the plot might be heading. It's really clever storytelling.
Super sophisticated use of literature.
So yeah, our deep dive shows these references are absolutely baked into the DNA of you. They're key to understanding Joe, the show's themes, everything.
So for you, the listener who asked about this seriously fascinating question, if you want to get even deeper into Joe's head, well, reading these books might be the way.
A very unsettling reading list, maybe.
Huh. Yeah, the Joe Goldberg Book Club. Probably not recommended. But it makes you think, right? If you use his books this way, what other shows or movies or even music use references to add these kinds of hidden layers?
That's a great question. Where else can we find that kind of depth if we just look a little closer?
Definitely something to chew on.